That Neil Batlivala has spent 7 years building a healthcare company that most of the tech industry has never heard of and that serves a patient population most of Silicon Valley ignores. But last month, that work put him at the center of something much bigger. His company, Pehel, announced on April 30th it had been accepted into Access, a Medicare program, as one of 150 participants chosen by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to test what AI-driven medical care could look like at federal scale. The program goes live July 5.
And Honduran authorities have arrested 3 people, including a powerful politician, accused of plotting the 2024 assassination of an environmental leader, an incident that became a symbol of government corruption. Adan Funes, former mayor of the city of Tocoa, was captured at his home on Tuesday on suspicion of masterminding the killing of Juan Lopez, following years of accusations by religious and environmental leaders. And in a United States court, OpenAI chief executive Sam Altman has rejected claims from fellow tech mogul Elon Musk that he betrayed the artificial intelligence company's original vision. Tuesday marked the start of Altman's testimony in a contentious trial unfolding in Oakland, California, between some of tech's richest and most powerful titans. And a federal appeals court in the United States has temporarily paused a lower court decision to block President Donald Trump's 10% global tariff. On Tuesday, a U.S. federal appeals court issued a short-term administrative stay as the court case continues.
United States President Donald Trump has departed the White House en route to Beijing, where he will meet with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. Trump spoke briefly with reporters on Tuesday as he boarded the Marine One helicopter. He was then set to arrive in China aboard Air Force One on Wednesday, ahead of the planned meetings on Thursday and Friday. Brandon Clark, an athlete for the National Basketball Association, NBA, in the United States, has died at the age of 29. According to his team, the Memphis Grizzlies, no cause of death was immediately announced. Local media reports indicate he was pronounced dead at a home in California's San Fernando Valley after emergency workers responded to a call for help.
And Donald Trump has reasserted his support for Pakistan to serve as a mediator between Iran and the United States after Senator Lindsey Graham, a close ally of the US president, disparaged Islamabad's diplomacy. In remarks on Tuesday, lauded Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and its army chief Asim Munir, who helped negotiate a fragile ceasefire in Iran that came into effect last month. And Israel is concerned that US President Donald Trump may strike an agreement with Iran before addressing some of the key issues that drove the two countries to launch the war in the first place. Multiple Israeli sources have told CNN a deal that leaves Tehran's nuclear program partially intact while bypassing issues such as ballistic missiles and support for regional proxies would lead to Israel viewing the war as incomplete, the sources said. And Ukraine has struck gas facilities in southwest Russia's Orenburg region, more than 1,500 kilometers, 932 miles from the Ukrainian border, according to President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky said in his daily video address on Tuesday evening that the attack was a retaliation for Russia's overnight attacks on Ukraine. Ukraine has said that we will act symmetrically in response to Russia, he said. And Tehran, Iran, Iranian authorities have increasingly singled out the United Arab Emirates, UAE, in their war messaging and have warned of stronger strikes against the country if the United States and Israel resume their attacks. Our label of neighbors with the Emirates has for now been lifted, and the label of hostile base has been set for the country. Ali Kezrian, a member of the Iranian Parliament's National Security Commission, told state television earlier this week. And the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, has documented an uptick in displacement, disappearances and explosive injuries as a result of Colombia's 6-decade-long internal conflict. In an annual report released on Tuesday, the ICRC found that 2025 saw the worst humanitarian consequences in the last decade of the conflict. And divided by fighting, desperate for peace. 3 years of conflict in Sudan have caused one of the worst humanitarian crises in recent times. The UN says 14 million people have been displaced. Nearly half of Sudan is facing acute hunger, and more than 18 million people need urgent medical help for injuries and disease.
That Keir Starmer has thrown down the gauntlet to his potential rivals, defying calls to quit as Britain's Prime Minister, and instead challenging his would-be opponents to launch a formal challenge against his leadership of the Labour Party. That, to trigger a leadership challenge, 1/5 of Labour's members of Parliament, MPs, that is 81 lawmakers, must coalesce around a single candidate. Once one or more candidates amass that level of support, that their names can be put on the ballot to run against Starmer in a contest voted on by Labour Party members.
And a snap election is underway in the Bahamas, where voters are heading to the polls to decide whether to grant Prime Minister Philip Davis and his ruling Progressive Liberal Party, PLP, a rare second consecutive term in office. If Davis wins the election on Tuesday, he would be the first leader of the Caribbean island nation to serve a second term in nearly 30 years. He is facing a challenge from the Free National Movement, FNM, led by Michael Pintard.
That Serbia and NATO have launched their first ever joint military exercise, a landmark cooperation between the Balkan country and the alliance that bombed its capital less than 30 years ago. The 2-week-long drills, which began on Tuesday and run until May 23, involve about 600 troops from Serbia, Italy, Romania and Turkey. Military planners and observers from France, Germany, Italy, Montenegro, Romania, Serbia, Turkey, the United Kingdom and the United States are also participating.
And Kevin Warsh has been confirmed by the United States Senate to join the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors ahead of an expected vote that will have US President Donald Trump's appointee lead the central bank. The Senate vote on Tuesday passed 51 to 45, with a single Democrat, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, casting his vote with the Republican majority to confirm Warsh for a 14-year term. And the office of Hakeem Jeffries, the top-ranking Democrat in the United States House of Representatives, has released a fiery statement condemning a fellow lawmaker who endorsed a racist comment about him. Tuesday's statement came a day after US Representative Jen Kiggans appeared on a conservative radio talk show where she discussed the ongoing battle over redistricting in the state. And former Tesla executive Drew Baglino has quietly founded a heat pump startup, TechCrunch has learned. This is the second company founded by Baglino in the 2 years since he left Tesla. Sources confirmed the existence of the startup called Sardi Thermal Machines, and TechCrunch has reviewed company filings in Delaware and California. And early-stage venture firm A Capital on Tuesday announced a $450 million Fund 3. The firm takes a generalist approach, backing companies across categories including AI applications, fintech, healthcare, and security. And the average check size for this fund will be between $3 million and $5 million, with the aim to back at least 30 startups. The capital will be deployed over the next 2 to 3 years, as with the firm's previous funds. And limited partners include nonprofits, foundations, and endowments. Carnegie Mellon University is among the publicly named backers. Our Capital, founded in 2020 and run by Kevin Hartz and Bennett Siegel, and previously raised a $315 million Fund 2 in 2024 and a $300 million Fund I in 2021. Hartz is a serial entrepreneur best known for co-founding Zoom, the international money transfer service PayPal, later acquired for $1 and $1 billion in 2015, and Eventbrite, the event ticketing platform that went public in 2018.
That Islamabad. The sisters of PTI founder and former Prime Minister Imran Khan and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister were once again denied a meeting with the ex-premier at Adiala jail on Tuesday. Imran's sister, Alima Khan, told reporters that being denied a meeting was nothing but contempt of court, as they were not being allowed to meet Imran despite clear orders from the Islamabad High Court, IHC, that family meetings be arranged every Tuesday and Thursday.
And Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 10 people in southern Lebanon, state media say, where a ceasefire has failed to stop the war between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. Overnight, 6 people were killed and 7 others were injured when a house in Kfar Dunin was hit, according to Lebanon's state-run national news agency, NNA.
That federal prosecutors have filed criminal charges against the owner of the cargo ship Dali 2 years after the vessel struck Baltimore's Key Bridge, causing its collapse and killing 6 people. Synergy Marine, the company that operated the ship, along with one of its employees, has been charged with conspiracy, obstruction and misconduct, resulting in death, among other offences. An independent Israeli investigation has published harrowing details of systematic, widespread sexual violence by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups during the attacks on the 7th October 2023 and against hostages. The 300-page report concludes that rapes, sexual assault and sexual torture were intended to maximize pain and suffering.
And eBay has rejected a $56 BN takeover bid from the much smaller GameStop over financing doubts, calling the proposal neither credible nor attractive. eBay, which has roughly 4 times GameStop's market value, also underscored on Tuesday that its turnaround efforts under CEO Jamie Iannone have boosted growth, with its stock returning 201% since Iannone took the position 6 years ago. And as Kamala Harris weighs another run in 2028, the Democratic Party faces a split over Israel policy. A new report suggests it may have cost votes in 2024. With a base that has shifted dramatically, can the party keep up with what its voters now expect? In this episode,
United States consumer prices have risen for the second consecutive month, marking the biggest annual increase in almost 3 years. As energy prices surged on the back of the U.S.-Israel war on Iran, U.S. consumer prices rose by 0.6% in April after a 0.9% increase in March, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Price CPI report published on Tuesday. U.S. diplomat Mike Huckabee has revealed that Israel deployed Iron Dome batteries and personnel to help operate them to the United Arab Emirates, UAE, to help fend off Iranian attacks. The United States ambassador to Israel heaped praise on the UAE during an event in Tel Aviv on Tuesday, saying that Abu Dhabi serves as an example of strong ties between Israel and Gulf states.
And Google and SpaceX are in talks to launch orbital data centers in space, reports the Wall Street Journal, citing sources familiar with the matter. The potential deal comes as SpaceX gears up for its $1.75 trillion IPO later this year and selling investors on the idea that data centers in space will be the cheapest place to put AI compute within the next few years. It also follows SpaceX's deal with Anthropic last week to use computing resources from xAI's data center in Memphis and Tennessee, with the potential to work together on orbital ones in the future. SpaceX acquired xAI in February. And potholes are a pesky problem. Just ask scooter company Lime, which listed them as an official risk to its business in its IPO filing last week. History is littered with claims that technology can help solve or blunt the problem of potholes, and still they persist. But as cars become increasingly laden with advanced sensors, they are becoming a tool that can quickly alert cities to potholes and other municipal problems. And as investors scramble to get their hands on shares of AI companies of all stripes, and Anthropic this week updated its website to warn investors that a slew of private and secondary investment platforms that offer access to shares in the AI company are not, in fact, allowed to do so. The company named Open Doors Partners and Unicorns Exchange, Pachamama Capital, Lionheart Ventures, Forge Global, Sidecar and Upmarket as companies that are not authorized to provide access to buy or sell its shares.